There's so much happening every day of this election campaign. I know it's hard to stay across everything that's going on, what's nonsense and what matters, but right here at 5 o'clock Eastern or later, if you series link the program and watch it later on, each day I'll give you the best of it, the stuff you need to know, the stuff that cuts through the spin, the stuff that ensures you know what's really going on. And we'll start tonight with News Poll. It's the poll that matters, and it's always the closest to reality. It was based on News Poll last time that I said the coalition could still win, so the polling was never as inaccurate as most of the analysis last time around, and the headline numbers from today's News Poll show little change. It's got the two-party preferred numbers stuck on 53 to Labor, 47 to the coalition, a very strong position for Labor at this time. And that's based on a falling primary vote for both parties at 35 and 36, which puts the coalition way below where they need to be and has lots of votes, of course, going to minor parties ahead of those two major parties. But this poll is actually very bad for Labor, very ominous for the Labor Party, because it reflects some trends we've seen in other polls, and it gives us a clue about what's going to happen to those crucial voting patterns in the weeks to come. On net satisfaction, that is satisfied voters versus dissatisfied, over the past few polls, Anthony Albanese has fallen from positive territory into negative, and now he's well below Scott Morrison, who comes off a low base but is rising steadily. And this has crystallised in the preferred Prime Minister ratings, where Albanese had drawn level to Morrison last month, which is a tough ask for an opposition leader, but he's now fallen 7 points behind, and the trend is he's falling lower. So the head-to-head contest is going terribly for Labor and very well for the coalition. And why is this important? Well, this is seen as a lead indicator. Voters often don't immediately change their mind about which party they're going to vote for, which party's going to get their vote. They often shift their thoughts on the leaders before their voting intention follows. On these numbers, unless Albanese really lifts his game, he needs to have a big night tomorrow at our Sky News leaders debate, unless he changes it all up, you can expect to see those voting intentions turn ugly for Labor in News Poll next week and the week after. The other factor, of course, is the high number for the minor parties. Now, these will probably stay relatively high because there's no great enthusiasm for either major party, but sometimes, in a polling sense again, voters park their votes there, park their votes with the minor parties before hardening up their choices for the major parties closer to polling day. The big challenge for Morrison and the coalition is to win back some of those voters. They need to convince them of the reality that a vote for the fake independents, the voices of independents who are actually Green left candidates, well, you've got to know that a vote for them might as well be a vote for Anthony Albanese. That needs to be a core message from the coalition all the way to a polling day. It should be relatively easy to prosecute that argument, though, of course, because it just happens to be true. I mean, just have a look at these fake independents dodging questions about who they would support to form government in the event of a hung parliament.
You could be the kingmaker. You do know that, right?
No, again, this is the positioning the media likes to make.
No, it's not, because I've seen minority government and the Governor-General needs to have confidence and supply in any Prime Minister in the event of minority. So what will you do?
With respect, most state governments are in fact minority governments.
I'm about the policies, not the parties. And frankly, if you talk to the people of Wentworth, I think they care about the policies, not the parties.
You may have received one of these scary flyers in your letterbox from the Liberal Party telling you that I'm not actually independent. Well, I am. I don't think either party is doing enough on climate action.
I think people would think that it would be ridiculous for me to announce a position on something that hasn't even happened 6 months ahead of time.
Your policies are more in line, or your desires are more in line with Labor's.
Oh, look, you could say that, but in fact I don't think the Labor Party's policies are enough as yet either.
Yeah, it's the most important question for them, the most important question for the nation. Who will form government? Yet they won't say. They pretend that they don't know. They do know, of course. They're all running against Liberals. in well-to-do electorates. So if they said they'd favour a Liberal government, it would actually help them get elected. Clearly, they exist to deliver a Labor-Greens government, but they won't say that. They won't tell the truth because they know that would cost them votes. So they are an electoral fraud, a phony group of Green left activists who want to trick people into voting for them. They want to be the virtue signalling option, but they'd actually deliver a Labor-Greens government. Some of them are actually former Labor Party members. Vote Allegra Spender in Wentworth and you get Adam Bandt and Anthony Albanese. Vote Zoe Daniels or Monique Ryan in Melbourne and you get Bandt and Albanese. Teal is the colour you get when you mix Labor and the Greens. Let's hope voters don't fall for this nonsense.